Testing, testing, testing. Okay, ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 139 on the Security Podcast here on the In30 Network. Today, we want to talk about an article about VPNs, essentially, and how we found out that the over-the-counter thing that you pay for using whatever PayPal or Bitcoin or whatever is not so anonymous and not so secure and really not so good. So I'll introduce Tom, and he'll get us started, and then we'll continue talking about VPNs for as long as we can.
Hey everyone, how's it going? This paper is interesting. Probably the biggest site to cite this paper is on Wired. Wired.co.uk published this. Well, they didn't publish it. They reported on this paper made by a bunch of people about. If you want to look up the full paper, it's titled An Analysis of the Privacy and Security Risks of Android VPN Permission-Enabled Apps, which is kind of a mouthful, but it does go into some really cool stuff here, detailing, unfortunately they don't list all the apps, but they do list the top 10, what permissions they ask for, what data is collected, the actual technology used in the VPN app. Some of them don't even encrypt your data. So we can go through this and let you know what's safe and what's not.
Well, the first thing, I mean, what Wired is saying, so we have a Wired article that talks about this, and it starts with the Me Too selfie app. So if you don't know what that is, just right before we get started, it was this app that took selfie shots, but it was communicating with China. And I guess that's where it started, where people, again, they're talking about permissions. They're talking about what the network traffic things can do. And I guess this company decided, let's look at VPNs. And they're finding out that everyone wants to be safe and secure, but no one really wants to pay for it, which are causing these apps to unfortunately find other ways to monetize or at least keep it cheaper. And before we start, luckily, my company, the one that I paid for years and years ago, was not on this list, but it looks like the company that I'm using is this package type VPN, where they all share the same servers and they sell VPN servers at a huge bulk to a whole bunch of different companies, and they all use the same type of skin and do the same thing. I don't know if that's a thing, but that's my impression, that they're all the same. $50 lifetime use of VPN. And again, I don't see any of the companies that I think are on this list. So,
yeah, this looks like a whole bunch of small players. One thing to note is that some of these are free VPN applications. You can go to the Play Store and search for free VPN and come up with a giant list. And if you've listened to the show for a while, you would know that we tell you to avoid those at all costs. There is a business model to those. They're not just being nice. And, whether it comes with injecting ads into your data, selling your data, shipping it to someone who wants to look at it, or any number of bad, horrible things when it comes to traffic analysis or traffic injection, they're probably doing that. Or it could be as simple as asking for far, far, far more permissions than a VPN app actually needs to function. Stuff here like access super user, or MDM security, or disable keyguard, or send and write text messages, or call phone numbers. There's a bunch of permissions on here that some VPN apps are asking for that they really, really shouldn't be. Lower on this list is, premium VPN apps. But some of those do, ask for overreaching permissions as well. There's no reason that your VPN app should access your text messages or be able to call someone. It just shouldn't work that way.
the only thing it should access, right, is just the network, your internet or whatever.
Yeah.
Not text messages, basically Chrome. I mean, Chrome and any internet related app.
Right. It can, I could see a universe where it asks for your location, or at least a course location, to give you a VPN server close to your geographical area, and that way you get the best, fastest VPN connection. But that's not really required, and I would say in some cases not even recommended. Sometimes you're trying to get out of the country you're currently in.
So before we get into all these other things, again, we want to talk about what VPNs are and what they aren't. I mean, on the simplest thing is you're connecting using an encrypted pipe to another server that will then do whatever you need it to do. And for some people like me, it's at school accessing sites that I should not be on at school. It used to be Facebook, it used to be email. Now they've unblocked those. It could be you at home trying to get the BBC at home, or getting the very famous one was the Olympic live stream from London versus what Matt Costa and the other one were trying to do here. And then there are the people like companies that say, we don't want you going using your computer. We want you VPNing and using our internet so we can make sure we know what's going on. And then there's the people who want to be completely secure, and we don't want anybody trying to see our traffic. We want to control the whole thing.
Right. So they serve a whole bunch of purposes. Really, for most people, if you're probably encountering a VPN somewhere in your company to get to network shares or internal applications, stuff like that. And a lot of the time, your company will give you like a little key fob that you keep on your keychain that's got random numbers it generates every so often. And that's a lot of people's first introduction to a VPN. But one of the great benefits, and what I've told people when I've worked IT in the past, is that, if you go to Panera, Starbucks, wherever that has free Wi-Fi, if you're doing work, even if you're not doing work, the pipe's big enough for personal use, then just fire up the VPN, because when you're on free and open Wi-Fi, people can see that traffic, they can mess with the traffic, they can do a whole lot of things on open Wi-Fi that's just not good. It's just bad stuff. And using a VPN is going to encapsulate that traffic in an encrypted tunnel and then put that stuff through. What that'll enable is it'll prevent people from snooping on your traffic. It'll prevent people from injecting stuff into your traffic. And that's, it connects you to a certified secure endpoint, or at least a more secure endpoint than using open Wi-Fi.
I mean, I use it whenever I can. I don't use it on a data connection, so we always get this. Should I use it on my 4G data? And I go, no, because 4G connects you're an individualized connection to your ISP. What it does not do is it does not hide your traffic from your ISP, which a lot of people are thinking about. Does it do that? No. T-Mobile will see the VPN connection to my house, but Verizon at the end of the day is my ISP. They will get the traffic.
Right, and that's when when you're choosing a VPN provider, because there's lots of different ways to go about using VPN. And I made sure to tell people this when they were using the company VPN. I said, okay, look, at the end of the day, if we wanted to, we could inspect the traffic. We could see what you're doing. So don't do anything nefarious or illegal. If you make a bomb threat or something stupid, or you do something that is illegal, and law enforcement comes to us, we will give them the traffic. We will give them the VPN logs, just flat out. So if you're going to do something illegal or shady or against HR's policies, you probably shouldn't use your company's VPN. If you're doing something that's illegal, you probably shouldn't use a VPN at your house. You probably shouldn't be doing illegal things, but, some things are illegal and they shouldn't be. Like watching the BBC in a country that's not the UK. But that's just me personally. You might feel differently.
I mean, the big one was Verizon and Comcast were blocking Netflix, so people would use their company's VPN and be able to stream that.
Right. So that's when you would bring in like an outside VPN company, one that you pay for, because as well as we do, that free VPN apps are only trouble. So my first day of every semester, I tell my students about VPNs, and everyone goes, well, I have this one, and this one just has some ads. And I go, if they're injecting ads, that means that they have a way into your connection.
And if it's free, they're doing something to make it free. And whether they're inspecting it, if they're showing you targeted ads in your network browsing traffic, what do you think that means? And then all the kids get all freaked out. But again, it'll tell you the same thing. If they're showing you ads, they have a way in, and you don't want that.
Yeah, you want to avoid that at all costs. There's a lot of different ways to obtain a VPN connection if you don't want to pay a VPN provider. Like if you don't want to go to privacytools.io, click on software, and then you don't want to click on their little VPN area, then you can roll your own. If you wanted to, if you're technical, you can stand up a server on Rackspace, AWS, DigitalOcean, and for like $5-ish a month, depending on what server you're paying for, you can stand up your very own VPN connection out in the internet and connect to it from wherever you can get an internet connection. You can buy, for $35-40, you can buy a Raspberry Pi and use Pi VPN, and that's going to be at pivpn.io to set up your own home-based VPN connection.
Well, let's start. So we use privacy. We always say the website privacytools.io because they vetted a lot of the software. Again, trust is on you, but we've looked at them. We've said, hey, look, these meets our standards. They're not US based, and they tell you what their standards are. They go through everything. They outside the US uses encryption, accepts Bitcoin, uses OPN, and have a open VPN, have a no logging policy. So they tell you how much it costs, where it's located. Is there a free trial? And the problem is that you may say, hey, I don't need to be this secure. Is there something else? But at 45 euros or 54 euros or 100 euros or 52 Icelandic dollars, like you said, it's about $5 to $10 a month. And I'm sure it allows you to use it with Chrome and all your devices. So always check there first. If you're saying, this is what I need, I want it to be encrypted, I want to do this. If you're just trying to circumvent Netflix, there are other ways to do that. Like if you don't care about your traffic, you can find something in the US that's cheaper, we see a lot of these deals, $50 lifetime, but just check, what are they doing with it? Because like I said, if you don't care about the data going out, then it's okay that they're selling your information as long as they're not selling your information, but they're selling it in bulk and saying you like to watch Netflix with it.
Right. If you are using one of these free VPNs and you ever encounter like that red screen of death in Chrome or Firefox that says, hey, something nefarious is going on and this certificate isn't valid for this site, you have to stop using that immediately. That means they're trying to man in the middle of your secure connections, and that's just not going to fly. You will seriously hurt yourself if that starts to happen.
In our WhatsApp group, we get this question at least once a month. Somebody goes, I'm traveling, what VPN do you recommend? Or I'm here and I want a VPN. And we talk to them. I have, like I said, I bought this thing $50 lifetime. It gives you 5 connections. And I say, what are you doing with it? They're saying, well, I want to do this really esoteric thing. It's not that important. I don't care who's looking in. I just need this. And I say, okay, here, try it. If you like it, buy it, pay them, whatever it is. It's not that expensive. Then we get people we really want to be. We are in China and we are trying to break out of the Great Firewall. Well, that's a little different. Then you need something else. So your use case is going to depend on which one you want. But if you're going to pay money for something, especially a decent amount of money, monthly fee, whatever it is, you might as well go for the good ones that you're fairly confident in, that are not gonna release as much data as we think they are.
Yeah, I've used as far as US based providers go, I've used private internet access. Netflix does not work through their service at all, but they were very reliable and very fast. I'm currently using NordVPN. I like them. They aren't as stable as I would like, and Netflix can be shaky. Hulu is definitely blocked.
Again, what happens when you sign up? So when you sign up, here's the issue. If you want to be completely anonymous, then you have to make sure they accept Bitcoin and that you can give them a throwaway email address. You have to be able to identify you somehow, but it can be anonymous. So you got to give them something and a Bitcoin.
There are issues with trying to be anonymous to your VPN provider, or even to Tor if you're forcing all of your traffic out Tor, and that's data fingerprinting or traffic fingerprinting. So, myself, if someone looks at my network traffic, they're going to see, oh, this guy watches YouTube and Hulu all the time. He usually watches these channels. He usually goes to these sites. He usually communicates across these messengers at these times of day. When you get the whole pipe, when you get everything that's going out of your pipe or out of your device at any one period in time, it becomes very, very easy to track that back to an individual, or at the very least a household. So even though you're paying with Bitcoin and using a throwaway email address and you're behind 7 proxies when you're signing up, the fact that you're throwing all of your traffic through one pipe, through one provider, makes it very easy to track it back to you, even if you're not doing anything identifying on the other end. Think about it. You're going to sign in through Facebook, right? You're going to attach your phone to this VPN. It makes it very easy to trace that back to you, especially if you're using HTTP just without the S anywhere on the net. It makes it very trivial to look into that traffic and see what you're sending or receiving.
And just before we pivot on to the making your own, we want to point out, make sure you're using OpenVPN. There's LT2P and IPsec there, and PPTP. They're all, well, PPTP is not secure at all. The others are secure, but just use OpenVPN, the standard there.
Yeah, IPsec can be good in some configurations. L2TP and PPTP, stay away from at all costs. OpenVPN is really the one you want to go for.
So again, we're talking about a commercial service. I heard this on Security Now, which we get a lot of our news from, where Steve Gibson keeps on saying, you know what, if I had to make my own VPN, I would make it and put it on my network and go out. And it brought a lot of confusion because, hey, I thought you're saying you want to try and hide your traffic and everything else. And his argument is privacytools.io, the nation states are looking at them. We don't know if they're actively being exploited right now, and they can't tell us. Especially in the U.S., is there a gag order, national security letter, where they're sucking up all the traffic at all these endpoints? At least at your house, if you're not being targeted, you're anonymous. Yes, Verizon is or wherever, Comcast is still getting all your data, but at least nobody has a target on that exact endpoint. And it brings up a good point. If you're trying to do something and you're trying to be anonymous about it, going through one of these things where the NSA knows about the endpoints may be a problem. But if you go through your house or you go through a different endpoint that is not well known, you may be in luck.
Yeah, usually when it comes to people trying to avoid the NSA or other state actors, there's not a whole lot you can do. At the end of the day, there's not really anything you can do. If you're trying to communicate securely and completely thwart the NSA, take your computer, break it into 1,000 pieces, and throw it in the ocean. The NSA will have a hard time piecing that back together. It's not going to be very useful to you, but it will evade them for a time.
I mean, it's one of those, the idea is there. If you're going to go where everyone, you're going to go to the endpoint that everyone uses, and you're going to try and get the data from there. If you try to obscure, look, I'm not saying to do this, but I would make a VPN and hand it to 10 of my friends and then randomly choose which one to go to. The problem is that you have to really trust the person to allow that, because your traffic is going on their internet, and if somebody comes knocking, you're responsible.
Right. It is a good idea to mix traffic with as many different people as possible, which, using one of the more popular VPN services, if you do go the commercial route, means that you and tons of other people are using that endpoint to ship all your traffic to. So it does make things a little better on the receiving end, but traffic analysis is still a thing, and it's still very effective.
And so if you do want to roll your own, which I have done now many times, not many, 2 or 3 times at this point, rebuilding it, a $35 Raspberry Pi, even a Raspberry Pi Zero, but then you're going to be in dongle life forever. But a $25 Raspberry Pi with the power supply that you have from your old phone, an SD card, there's a website, pyvpn.io. Now, we're not recommending it, but we're saying if you want a one-click install, this is you take a curl, you curl a bash command into it. Did I say that right? Curl a bash command?
Yeah, you curl a script into bash, which is I can't recommend that in good faith. You never want to curl something directly into bash. That's just bad news for everyone. But you can. It's an option. I would go Google, set up PyVPN and follow those steps, like long form steps. It's not just one command, but it does work.
And like I said, if people have banged on it, they said it's good, everything else. However, if you want to do it yourself or you want to see screenshots on how to make it your own, and it takes about 3 to 4 hours, but you'll have it done. You'll feel good about yourself. You'll go down the rabbit hole of security. But
and you get to use that Raspberry Pi that's been sitting in your desk drawer for the past 2 years.
Yes.
You can do something.
And then you can tell people this, and then you can be like the cool person at work that has a little key icon on their Android phone that says that they're awesome. So
that is what that icon means. There's no other explanation, but when the key shows up, that means you're awesome.
So, oh, by the way, if you didn't know, Google on their latest builds of Nexus and Pixel devices and Google Fi devices, if you are in a known open Wi-Fi hotspot like a diner or Starbucks, they will encrypt your traffic for you. They are sending it to Google servers, but at least no one can sniff in. So they're making their own VPN, but that is not secure in any means. It just means it's secure for you at Starbucks at that moment.
I really wish more providers would do this. Detect open Wi-Fi, throw it through a tunnel of some kind, or a project like we've seen with Let's Encrypt, something by the EFF or another organization standing up free use VPN tunnels for the world. That would be fantastic. The issue comes with a whole lot of liability laws.
I mean, when you're at Starbucks, you can assume that the worst is happening. Somebody's learning how to use a pineapple, a Wi-Fi pineapple, everything else. But when a national security letter goes to Google for you, you probably know what's going on before you get it, and you know that you shouldn't be going through Google to get your internet. So it saves 95% of the people at Starbucks, but those 5 people who need more security for their company or whatever, they know how to set up their own VPN.
Yeah, it's definitely helping out the masses.
So again, I mean, with that topic, again, we talked about VPNs. If you're paying for it, make sure you're reading their privacy policy. Make sure they're not doing anything. Take a look at this paper, which we'll link the Wired article. You can go find the paper through there and really see. If you want to roll your own, I recommend rolling your own. I really do. I think it's fun. It's a cool project. It won't take you that long. You'll feel cool. You can brag to your friends, and you'll know you'll be safe.
And Raspberry Pis are just fun to have around. Even if you find out you never use it, you can use a Raspberry Pi to do anything. They're so great.
So that's it for that article. I mean, we're almost out of time anyway. But Tom, you read something about an executive order?
Yeah, there's a draft executive order. It's just draft. I need to clarify that. It is a draft order that was sort of leaked. So take this with like a salt block of varying sizes. But I read through it, and it doesn't really have very many specifics in it. What it does do is it says, hey, the United States needs a security assessment. We need to figure out where our biggest vulnerabilities are, and we want that within 60 days. And then within 100 days, we want, the more in-depth report of our vulnerabilities and a plan to start remediating that. As far as that section of the super cyber executive order thing goes, I think it's a good idea. You don't know what you don't know, so you got to try to know what you don't know. You have to learn where the holes are before you can start patching them over. And, of course, the stupid, simple things that you see anytime, if you've ever interacted with the government in person anywhere, Windows XP is a staple. They're starting to get a little better. They're starting to put in Windows 7 in places, but XP is still everywhere, and you can guarantee those haven't been patched. But going out, doing a survey of federal places, federal institutions to try to find the most glaring security flaws, and making a list and making a plan to remediate that. That's a good thing. I hope this doesn't go any further than that. To be honest, it doesn't really need to right now. Coming up with a list of stuff to fix and a plan to go forward with fixing it, and maybe throwing a budgetary item in there. Those are good things. That said, it is the federal government and this federal government, and we're not sure if things are going to stay the way they are in the draft. So we'll see how it all ends up. At this point, making predictions is kind of useless.
I mean, I like what you said, the idea of we want to try and find the holes, and maybe we can use that for our budget appropriation to become more secure. But again, we don't know, but to be afraid to say, well, we really should start looking at people, looking at immigrants, refugees, wherever, from these countries with this thing, then that starts to become really bad. Because they're starting there, and then they're going to say, well, the refugees use Telegram, so we want all that traffic, or they're using Signal, or they're using WhatsApp, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I could see this becoming a lot worse than the draft said. But, if it sticks to the high level of, hey, let's figure out where we're not being as secure as we should be. Hey, let's figure out how to fix those things. That's great. Leave it at that. Leave the specifics out of it. Right? Go hire an InfoSec company, not some no-name. Go find one of the big guys. Hire Rapid7, hire Binary Defense Systems, hire anyone with a big name with actual people that we trust behind it. The InfoSec community is big enough on Twitter. I'm sure Trump has interacted with at least one respected hacker on there.
So not Giuliani security, right?
No, God, no. I want to avoid getting political on this show, but
not Giuliani security.
Yeah, but not Giuliani security. Hire literally anyone else. I'll do it.
It's again, you talk to people, not to get political, who are Trump supporters, and they say, "Oh, it's just the front page. Who really cares?" And it's no. It's not the front page. It is. When your front page gets hacked, yes, it's one thing, but when you're a security company, it hurts just a little more.
Yeah, it's not really the best warm, fuzziest feeling in the pit of your stomach.
So anyway, we're a little short, but you know what? We're at 27 and a half minutes. I think it's a good time to end. And I guess we'll just see everyone next week.
See everyone.
Bye.